Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. It's Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. You're watching DeProgram with me, Ted Rall, and John Kiriakou. Lots to talk about. John and I are having quite a day, but hey, so is the country.
That's right.
John, you were just on the phone with with a guy who's kind of been in the news lately.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to tell us about it.
I was asked at the last minute to appear on a show called Redacted on the Unified Television Network, not realizing that I was going to be asked to appear along with Congressman Thomas Massie. So I got on, and as soon as I got on, Massie got on, and he was absolutely fascinating. The whole thing was about Jeffrey Epstein. And I've been trying to talk a lot about Jeffrey Epstein because these political developments surrounding the Epstein, it's not a case anymore, but the Epstein situation are complicated. He made them more complicated with what he said. So here's what he said. You know, he used to be on the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee is the single most important committee on Capitol Hill because the members of the Rules Committee decide what bills go to the floor for a vote and what bills are just killed. Because he's an independent thinker, he was removed from the Rules Committee and is no longer a member. But he says, I'm a smart guy. My time on the Rules Committee taught me how to write a discharge petition. A discharge petition is a very rarely used parliamentary trick in the House of Representatives. I remember it being used once when I was in college in 1986. What a discharge petition is this. Let's say there is a bill to make Ted Rall Day, okay? And most...
Well, that would be unopposed. Obviously.
Yeah, well, see, you'd think. So that's what I was going to say. Most people want a Ted Rall Day,
of course.
Right? But
why not?
There's this one asshole on the Rules Committee who says, you know what? I don't like Ted Rall. He made fun of me in a cartoon one time, and I'm not going to allow this thing to go to the floor for a vote. So Congressman Kiriakou then writes up what's called a discharge petition. A discharge petition, if it gets a majority, that's 218 votes, forces the bill out of the Rules Committee, whether they like it or not, to the floor for a vote. Okay. So until 1933, you needed 25% of members of Congress to vote yes on a discharge. They changed the rules in 1933. So now you need 218 votes to force a bill to the floor. Thomas Massie just now said that he has a bill to force the administration to release every scrap of paper that exists related to Jeffrey Epstein to the public, including, you know, videos and hard drives and black books and files and emails and everything they have. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, said, oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. That's going to embarrass the administration. And the president has already said that there are no files. We can't contradict the president. So Massie went to Hakeem Jeffries. And Hakeem Jeffries says, you know what? I can guarantee you every single Democrat in the House of Representatives, meaning that Massie has to come up with 5 Republicans. He's one, that's 4 more. Marjorie Taylor Greene said yes. That makes 3 more. So he's in talks with the Freedom Caucus. That could be as many as 6 more, which would give him enough to discharge the bill from the Rules Committee. So what did Mike Johnson tell him today? Mike Johnson said, if you persist with this, I'm going to change the rules, which haven't changed since 1933. And I'm going to make it so that you need 2/3 of the members of the House of Representatives, not 50% plus 1.
can he change the rules unilaterally, or does he need a vote?
Like that, with the stroke of a pen. He can do anything he wants because he's the Speaker of the House. Another thing, too, Massey said, and this was so interesting to me, he wants to subpoena people in the Jeffrey Epstein orbit. Well, when I was a senior staff member on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, I had subpoena power. You know, it's not something you want to do every day. It pisses people off to receive a subpoena. But if you have somebody that just refuses to testify, you have to issue the subpoena and then force them to come and testify before your committee. So Massey issued a whole bunch of subpoenas for all these different people to come before the House and testify as to their role in facilitating Jeffrey Epstein's crimes or in not helping to end Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. So what happened? Mike Johnson changed the rules. And so now the only people who can issue subpoenas in the House of Representatives are Mike Johnson's attorneys. No member of Congress can issue a subpoena as of today. Only Mike Johnson's attorneys. So the fix is in, man. You know, we were saying day before yesterday when Johnson announced that he didn't want any votes on Epstein, so he's just going to shut down the House of Representatives until September so that there won't be any votes. Now, you can't even issue a subpoena, let alone have a vote. One other thing, too, that Massey said that was very interesting. He said, despite this announcement that the House will shut down, it actually won't shut down because Johnson doesn't trust Trump to not make recess appointments. Now, they're all the same party. They're all Republicans.
What a vipers.
Oh, my God. It's shocking to me. So Johnson came to an agreement this week. And folks, this is not reported in the media. This is breaking news from Thomas Massey's mouth. Johnson came to an agreement with John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, that every 8 days they will gavel the House and the Senate into session and then immediately gavel it out of session. Okay, the whole process takes 5 seconds.
This is like the guy in the bottom of the hatch on Lost who has to keep pushing the button. That's right. That's exactly what it is. So that way they're in recess, but they're really not in recess. That way they can't vote on Epstein, but Trump can't make any federal appointments. Shocking. Well, just in case you were bored, John, and I don't think you were, this just broke in the New York Times while you were talking to Thomas. AG Pam Bondi, this is the lead story in the Times right now, informed Trump in the spring that his name appeared in the Epstein files, according to 3 people with knowledge of the exchange. The disclosure came as part of a broader briefing on the case by the FBI and prosecutors. It was made by Bondi during a meeting that also included the Deputy AG Todd Blanche and covered a variety of topics. She meets regularly with Trump, officials said. They informed Trump, the president, that his name, as well as those of other high-profile figures, came up during their re-examination of the Epstein files that had not previously been made public. Trump has already appeared in documents related to the investigation. Steve Chung wouldn't answer any questions about this briefing, and basically reminded everyone that this was fake news, supposedly. And this has all previously been reported by the Wall Street Journal. But, you know,
this is a bona fide scandal, Ted.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Wow.
I mean, it's like what we thought it was, right? I mean, we thought, you know, the only answers here were that it had to be either the president or himself who was somehow implicated to some extent. You know, I have to admit that it doesn't really pass the smell test that the president is a pedophile. But
no.
I don't believe that.
No,
But
I don't believe it either. No,
someone,
there's no evidence of that.
I mean, of course, anything's possible, but I just don't think. Yeah, there's, like you said, there's most things are usually the way they seem. Although every now and then you're like, what? So this could be one of those times. But it's got to be someone close to him. It's got to be someone he cares about.
Oh,
he's
come
running
on.
interference for.
It has to be. And I'll tell you what, it has to be Dan Bongino that leaked this to the New York Times, right?
Right.
It has to be.
There is no other possibility. Yeah. So
my
Elon
God.
Musk told the truth.
Yeah, Elon Musk told the truth, which then makes me think, how in the world did Elon Musk know that Donald Trump was in the Epstein files when Musk should not have had access to law enforcement information? That's a second thing.
Well, that's a good question. Although apparently Doge had its and Musk had their noses all sorts of holes that they weren't supposed to be.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So I mean, I thought we were going to be just talking about sending Congress home early and what a bad look that was. I mean, Massey was quoted in this morning's media, I guess probably from stuff he said yesterday to reporters, saying that MAGA world isn't going to forget about this just because 6 weeks go by. This really does remind me of Watergate summer when things dragged out, and I think about it was no air conditioning in that Senate hearing. It's like everyone's hot and sweaty. It was boring. And this low-level functionary named Paul Butterfield comes in and he just just says, and then the tape recorder and the Oval Office.
And people are like, what? There's a tape recorder in the Oval Office?
Reporters go scrambling out the door.
I was a little kid and I remember that.
Me too. It was like, what? And I remember always thinking that if Nixon hadn't dragged his ass on this whole thing, we would have never gotten to that point.
No.
The more Trump does this, the more it's staying in the news. I know he's hoping there's going to be an asteroid hit or, Jesus is going to finally come back and say hi or something's going to happen that's going to wipe this off the headlines. But I don't see it.
No, I don't either. And I'll tell you what, Massey said some other things that made me I wanted to yelp out loud. He said that this discharge petition, he wrote it, but it's co-sponsored by Ro Khanna. Mm-hmm. And he said that he and Ro Khanna have a lot of respect for each other. They work together on a lot of legislation, and they are of one mind on this issue. And then I was all done talking. Frankly, I was enjoying listening to him. I've been to a couple of baseball games with Thomas Massey. He is a lovely man. You don't have to agree with everything he says. He's very constitutionalist, but that's cool. But he is such a patriot. He said a couple things that were fascinating, and I'll tell you the one of lesser importance first. He said that there's a kind of a phony what's the number? 401c3, whatever that number is. 503c1.
501c3.
Okay, that. Thank you.
Nonprofit.
Nonprofit.
And you don't pay taxes on it.
That's right. So it all of a sudden started broadcasting TV commercials against him in his district. 501c3. Thank you. So it's broadcasting hit pieces against him. And he said it took his staff all of 15 minutes to trace the registration of this 501c3 back to the White House. Just like that. It's like, no, you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. But this organization has spent, and it's called like the Make America Great Again Patriots. Some stupid thing like that. And he said they've already spent $1.8 million. So he's in serious trouble. He says he's being primaried in Kentucky. I actually went back Friday, I guess it was, and I looked at the polls. There's not a whole lot of polling in these individual congressional races so far, but his constituents love him and they want him to stand up like this. Okay, that was the less interesting thing that he said. The more interesting thing that he said is the last question of the panel. The host said, so Congressman Massey, you find yourself at odds with the administration a lot, like all the time. And then he laughed and he said, yes. And remember, I was the only Republican who voted against Mike Johnson for speaker. So everybody's mad at Massey. He's
the Barbara Lee of the right.
He's the Barbara Lee of the right. Exactly. And
or
she
maybe
said,
the Rand Paul. I mean, Rand Paul's one of those.
But Rand Paul's kind of a phony, though. Massey's a true believer. He's really doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, is there any chance that you might consider running for president under Elon Musk's new America Party? Maybe you and Ro Khanna could do something together.
Unity ticket.
He says, never say never.
Well, that's always the right answer.
And I was like, oh my God. I mean, what any other politician would say is, I'm a Republican. I'm a lifelong Republican. I stand with the Republican Party. I'm going to work to change the Republican Party from within. That's not what he said. He said, never say never. My mouth dropped open.
It's the right
on the air.
It's an honest answer.
It was an honest answer.
I've had this question up for a little while here. Diana Montoya is asking, so neither of us, we've said this already, think that it's likely that Trump could have sexually assaulted a young girl. Let me tell you why I don't think that's true. I mean,
and then I'll follow you.
I've read thousands of pages of biographies of Donald Trump. I wrote a biography of Donald Trump. I don't recommend that you buy it. It's really not one of my best books. I mean, it's okay. I have better books if you want to buy one of my books. But I learned a lot about him, and he's led such a public life that it's just hard to believe that if he had these predilections, or if he was really particularly interested in unusual sex, we wouldn't have heard about it by now.
Right,
it just doesn't seem likely. It's not like, think about like Matt Gaetz was only a congressman and everything came out, right? I mean, Larry Craig, Mr. Wide Stance at the St. Paul airport. Again, it's just a senator from Idaho. We found out everything. So with Donald Trump, who's the most public person in the United States, and has been for decades, I think we would just know. We know he likes to fuck porn stars now and then, and other random skanks besides his wife, or sometimes the random skank becomes his wife. But that's not really unusual.
No.
For dudes in general, and for dudes like at that level. I mean, they have their wives and they have their families and they love them, and they also have sex on the side sometimes, but they do it with adults. I mean, that's my take. Again, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball here. If I did, I'd be buying more stocks.
No, I agree with you. I think if he had done something like that, it would have come out by now, even just as a rumor. We also have the statement from Stormy Daniels that he was 100% vanilla, that there was nothing special or out of the ordinary.
True. Yeah,
he was vanilla.
He was the missionary man.
Totally missionary. Yep. And he made that comment when he was still friendly with Epstein. He made that comment about, Jeff's a good guy, he's a fun guy, he loves women just like I do. He loves them young, but he loves women.
Right.
And I think there was a lot behind that statement.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing too. I mean, we do live in a world where perhaps it would be nice if you knew about the sexual assault and pedophilia, that you might step up and try to stop it, or even report it to the authorities. But I suppose that's too much to hope for in this case.
Right.
So, but I mean, I think clearly. So now we have the speculation game. I mean, I'm not going to throw out names here, but we're all going to be wondering, who is Trump covering for? Is it one person? Are there multiple? Is there a multiplicity? Who is it and why? There's someone. There's got to be.
There has to be, because otherwise this doesn't make any sense. If he had nothing to hide, he would have ordered the release of the information. He campaigned on ordering the release of the information. He released most of the JFK documents. He released the MLK documents. He's in the process of releasing the RFK documents. But then all of a sudden, like magic, There are no Epstein documents.
Yep. Nope. No, there were no files until there were files, and then there's no files again. I love Speaker Johnson's comment that only kind of the best files, the proper files, the reliable files should be released. And who's going to get to decide that? Is it going to be you, John, or is it going to be me, Ted?
Right.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
It's going to be
think so.
them. And the truth will out. This is going to, yeah.
And that's always the case. I say that a lot. Sometimes it takes years, decades even, but the truth always comes out. Always. Always. You know, I remember 6 weeks before my release from prison, I called my wife and I said, I was allowed to call her every other day for 15 minutes. So I said, how was your day? She said, it was great. And I said, really? It was great? Why was it so great? And she said, because the Senate torture report came out today and it proved that everything you said was true. So I had to wait from 2007 to December of 2015. It took 8 years, but my truth came out. This Epstein truth is going to come out, especially when you have people on the inside of the system who hate that it's not come out yet. Bongino's furious to the point where he's talking about quitting. Kash Patel is in a real situation right now where his reputation's on the line, and Donald Trump's only going to be president for 3.5 more years. And then what does Patel do? You got to be on the side of righteousness here. Otherwise, you're going to ruin yourself.
Yeah. Shall we, are we ready to switch over to Gaza?
Yeah. Wow.
Bad things in Gaza, right? So it's hard to know where to start. I could start with Bret Stephens' rancid column in today's New York Times, where, again, he's turning cartwheels to de-define what's going on there as a non-genocide. And, you know, in a way, does it really matter what it's called? But it is. Words.
It is a genocide.
And it has genocide. Yeah. It does mean it. And he's like, and, you know, what's so funny is he actually quotes the UN definition of genocide. And, you know, he carefully analyzes it, and he ignores the whole or in part of that phrase.
Yes.
In part. One of the big justifications for not calling this genocide is to say, look at the Nazis. They wanted to kill every Jew. And that's not really true.
Not really. No.
They were trying to get most of them to leave, actually.
Yes, that's right.
And then also the Nazis didn't give warning or herd them into ghettos. Oh, wait, they did. And it's like, but also, you know, the whole point is if you go after a significant part of a population, and your purpose is to kill them, or just get them to leave, that's still genocide, right? I mean, even if you don't kill anyone, you don't hurt a hair on anyone's head, that you can still be committing cultural genocide by driving a population out of their homeland. So, anyway, but what blew me away is the starvation reports are escalating now to the point where the doctors, this was in the New York Times today, the doctors who are exhausted beyond belief treating the endless flow of casualties into these, what's left of these hospitals in Gaza, are now themselves succumbing to starvation and are literally fainting and passing out while they're operating on people.
Yeah.
That's because they don't have enough food or water.
Ted, were you the one telling me yesterday or the day before yesterday about these games that the IDF are playing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely sick.
Yeah. Where they literally say, the doctors report that the IDF literally, for fun, the snipers will be like, today is shoulder day. Let's shoot everyone in the shoulder. Today is knee day. Let's shoot everyone in the knee. And then everybody, this was on the BBC, right? Very sober.
That's right.
But it was also now reaffirmed in the New York Times that they were, that people will come in all with the same identical injury, abdominal wound, buttock, whatever, head wound, all on the same day. Oh, it's Thursday. The Israelis they're taking the piss. They're having fun.
Yeah, they are. They're having fun. And listen, you've read the genocide statutes. I've read the genocide statutes. I don't
Over and
care.
over.
I don't care what your political positions are. Not you as Ted, but I don't care what people's political positions are. This meets all of the legal definitions of genocide. It is. It's a genocide. Period.
Well, there's no question. And, it's sort of like this whole, it's sort of like how you can sort of, like with people who have borderline personality disorder, they'll basically justify anything they do because you triggered them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you hadn't said this or hadn't done that, or if you had remembered to take out the trash or whatever, then I wouldn't have burned the house down. Or
do you see what you made me do?
Right. And the thing is, it's like, well, but you do control your reaction. And Israel is basically a borderline country. They're basically saying, well, look at what happened on October 7th. Therefore, everything that follows by definition is not our fault. And that's completely absurd and ridiculous.
That's a mental illness. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And, the only good news, I suppose, is that belatedly, not just 2 years late, but I would argue decades late, the world is starting to see it. And also people aren't afraid of Israel anymore. Mm-hmm. People are willing to speak up. I don't know that AIPAC is going to keep its power, even with all the money they have.
I really was disappointed in these recent votes in the House of Representatives over military aid to Israel. A friend of mine in Code Pink posted something on Facebook that I thought was very important. It was a tweet from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez explaining why she voted against this bill that would have, I forget what, it would have, the bill
would have denied $500 million.
That's what it was.
In spending for Iron Dome.
Right. Like, it's okay to allocate money for guns to shoot the Palestinians, but your objection is that the money was going to be spent for the Iron Dome. And that's so typical of the Democratic Party. It's typical of both parties, but these pro-Israel lefties, the ideology just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, part of it, John, I think it stems from this ridiculous idea that governments and companies have, where they'll say, like, oh, well, the money is in a separate pot. So right. Like all the Iron Dome defense money is in this pot, and the genocide money is in another pot. So if you contribute to the benevolent Iron Dome funding, then you're not necessarily funding the genocide. Of course, that's just fiction, because money is fungible by definition. And if you take it's kind of like, John, if you pay my cable bill, it's easier for me to pay my phone bill, right? That's just how the world works. And but it's also like, it's almost honestly like, SS guards at a death camp are they're killing people in the camp, and then we say, well, we don't want to finance that because that's bad. The killing part's bad. But, we don't want them to fall off the watchtower. So we'll pay for like a little bumper there to like shore things up. And we don't want them to get shot by like the resistance. So we'll pay them. We'll buy them some body armor so that like, the Polish resistance or whoever, the Russian partisans, can't shoot them off the watchtower. If you provide defense for a belligerent, you are assisting that belligerent. You just are.
Legally, you become a belligerent. Bruce Fine explained this to me. For example, the government of Belarus. The government of Belarus allowed Russian troops to invade Ukraine through Belarus. That makes Belarus a belligerent. And so it would be subject to war crimes charges after the war. It won't be, but that's just as an example.
With the doctors falling down dead, it's just going to get worse and worse. By the way, another thing that was funny about this stupid column in the Times today was he said, well, if they were really committing genocide, it would be hundreds of thousands, not tens of thousands. Well, first of all, it is hundreds of thousands.
It is.
Can we now dispense with that? They just haven't found the bodies, but it's arithmetic. There were 2.3 million Gazans there before on October 6th, 2023. We're down to about 2 now. 2.3 minus 2. I know they threw me out of Columbia Engineering School, beauty school, that's non-accredited now. But nevertheless, it was the better part of the beauty school. It was the engineering school. And I know how to subtract 2.3 from 2. And that's 300,000.
That's right. 300,000 people. And you're right about the bodies. Most of Gaza has been leveled. It's rubble. You can see it in the overhead photography. And nobody has any idea how many tens of thousands of bodies are underneath those buildings. Hundreds of thousands of bodies.
Yeah, the bodies aren't counted by the Gaza Health Ministry unless they're recovered and identified.
That's
so they have to know, like, even if they get a body, they have to be like, okay, that's John Smith. Their birth date is such and such. Their occupation was whatever. So, and if they don't do that, then, of course, obviously, John, you've been to wars. I've been to wars. It takes a long time to find out. I mean, when a body, like I'm speaking to you inside right now in a 9-story building. If someone dropped a bomb on this building, there's probably 50, 60 people here now. I think it would take weeks even for the NYPD to find everyone.
I believe that. They just found a body in Pacific Palisades yesterday. I saw in the LA Times. They're going through, these houses that turn to ash. They just got around to this one block, and sure enough, there was a burned body in the ruins yesterday. This was months ago. Oh, we can't hear you, Ted.
That's because I muted myself because I was coughing. So I guess we'll just keep an eye on this story. Obviously, it's an ongoing catastrophe. So let's talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to see this. His lawyers are aggressive. And
yeah,
this is, of course, the guy who was mistakenly, by all accounts, he is a green card holder, deported to El Salvador. There was a specific court order preventing that from happening, which ICE and the Trump administration either willfully or accidentally ignored. Deported him anyway. Then they found out, and then they made all sorts of ridiculous maneuvers to try to prevent that. When they did bring him back, they came up with some charges that may or may not, of course, be good, valid charges, to say that he'd been involved in basically smuggling illegal immigrants and possibly working for MS-13.
Yeah.
Which apparently the truth is that he left El Salvador originally because he was afraid of MS-13. The Salvadorian authorities even said he doesn't fit the profile, nothing that they believe. They don't believe he's a member. He doesn't have the right tattoos. He just doesn't, nothing fits, right? He's kind of just a mild-mannered dude who may have not been the best husband, is basically my take here.
Right.
So anyway, Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, went on Twitter to call him a monster. And so anyway, now his lawyers are in court, and they're asking the judge to issue an order telling the Trump administration to stifle it so that they stop prejudicing Kilmar's ability to get a fair trial in an American court of law. I mean, this is long overdue. In my opinion, I don't even understand I don't think district attorneys should ever go on the air and give a press conference and say, we just indicted this real son of a bitch for committing horrible crimes. At most, they should just say, we've arrested this person. These are the charges. We'll keep you posted. And that's it. But they editorialize. They queer the jury. They queer the judges. And this is, I'm sorry, when it's a cabinet secretary using the power of the U.S. government to say that you're a monster, how the fuck are you supposed to get a fair trial?
Even in the Bureau of Prisons, if you are a member of a gang, the last 2 digits of your prisoner ID number are going to be -47. And so you see these guys in the Crips and the Bloods and MS-13, and they all have 47. And then there was a guy I was sitting with one day, and I noticed his badge said 47. And I said, how are you a 47? He's just a typical white guy. I said, how are you a 47? He said, they accused me of being in the mafia. I said, the mafia? You're not even from a town that has the mafia. And he's like, I know. And then when I complained, they just said, so sue me. But if you have a badge that ends in 47, you can't go to a minimum security camp. You're not allowed to have, compassionate release. You can't do anything. You're stuck in prison. But they don't have to actually show anybody any proof that you're in a gang. Once they say you're in a gang, that's it. It's done. You're in the gang, whether you like it or not. And that's what Kristi Noem is doing in this case. You just keep repeating the lie over and over and over and over. And now all of a sudden, he's MS-13, whether it's true or not.
I mean, it does seem like he's got great lawyers. But
yeah, that's very good.
The tricky part here is that the Trump administration, as usual, is playing it cute, trying to have everything 2 or 3 or 4 ways at the same time. So they want to prosecute him, but they said, well, we won't prosecute him. We might not prosecute him, in which case we'll send him back to El Salvador, maybe South Sudan. And then they're like, well, but maybe we will prosecute him. But then as soon as we convict him, we'll send him to South Sudan or Libya or whatever, or El Salvador. Or maybe we won't prosecute him at all. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the shell game guys in Times Square back in the 80s. Like, you watch the hand, watch the ball, and you can never watch the ball. It's so insanely, this better than anyone. When the state, the advantages that the state has when they declare you an enemy, and the amount of chicanery, bullshit that they will subject you to is just, it's incomprehensible for someone who hasn't been, who doesn't know what it is. I mean, it's not well reported. You find all these things out when you show up, and then there you are in the jaws of the state.
Yeah, that's it. And there's no let up here. These people are relentless. The Kristi Noems of the world, and these Justice Department prosecutors. Oh my God, they're just relentless.
There's no getting away. I mean, I'm very, very curious as to how this is going to play out. It's a fucking embarrassment. Again, it's one of those things like, I don't know if they think that their base likes this. I don't know. I don't know. Do you think their base does like it?
I think I think elements of the base probably do, but the thing is that they're going to vote for you anyway. They're going to support you anyway. So why keep pandering to them like this? Either lead or allow them to tell you on what issues they want you to lead. And to me, that's not leadership.
No. Well, I mean, it's definitely leadership. It's just leadership down the shitter.
Yeah.
How about Ukraine? So America's famous favorite Democratic leader, who leads the most streamlined democracy in the world.
Yes.
That doesn't have any opposition parties
and very not
religions,
and very not corrupt in any way.
In no way, shape, or form. We don't have to have any elections because that just gets in the way of democracy. Anyway, there's a scandal now in Ukraine, and the bloom is off the rose. I suppose it's taken a lot longer than I would have expected it to.
Yeah.
I mean, Zelensky was really wildly unpopular before the war. And that sort of was all suppressed, and maybe there was genuine rallying around the flag in Ukraine. You would expect that. But now the opposition is getting brave. It's not easy to oppose the state in Ukraine. You may end up under house arrest or worse. It's a time of war, and they have martial law. So, they can literally just shoot you at a demonstration if they don't like you. So there's been large mass demonstrations opposing the regime because Zelensky basically put the kibosh on an anti-corruption campaign that was wildly popular and that people were really hoping to see happen. It reminds me a little bit of the kind of stuff that we've been seeing with the Epstein files here. It's just sort of like, we're not going to do that. Zelensky
just like that
doesn't really seem to have a good narrative here.
No. I was asked by a reporter this morning if I thought that it was possible that we may be seeing the early stages of a coup, even maybe a CIA-backed coup. And I said, you know what? If this were a year ago, I would say no. But today I would say, sure, this could be the start of a CIA coup. It's not 1963 where, the CIA puts a bullet into the back of the head of the South Vietnam's president. But it could be the kind of coup where the U.S. ambassador and the station chief go to see Zelensky and say, all right, it's time for you to go. Pack your shit, get on the plane, and go to London. And then
could it be a kidnapping thing like we did to what's his name from Haiti, Aristide?
Oh, Jean-Bertrand Aristide.
Took him to Central African Republic.
Yeah, sure.
We've
sure.
just decided that you're going to go to the happiest Stalinist place in Central Africa.
Just like that. Just like that. So something's afoot in Ukraine, and it's not good if you are a supporter of the Ukrainian government or of U.S. policy. I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. You're the one. Weren't you trained in code, John?
Yeah, I never did well with code. I preferred the disappearing ink. That was much easier for me. Seriously.
Did they actually use that? No, not
yeah.
really.
Yeah, they do.
What, really?
Uh-huh. But what you do is
it's elementary school.
You write a letter in regular ink, and then in between the lines, you write your secret letter in the disappearing ink. And so I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but then what you do is you send the letter, they put it into the solution. I forget what it was. I think it was hydrogen peroxide, maybe. And then the ink disappears and the hidden ink comes up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and not really complicated.
No.
Not at all. It's like stuff that you can see at the Spy Museum in D.C. A fun visit. Totally a fun visit. Have you ever
or
anything?
It's expensive, but it's fun.
Yeah, because it's a private thing. It's not a real museum. Unfortunately, right? So Houdini is asking Zelensky if there's a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire, because now the pressure's on him. He's agreed to get serious.
And they're talking in the next couple of days. The US isn't invited, but Ukraine and Russia are going to talk. Yeah, so Houdini, it's my understanding that he actually owns real estate because he stole so much money. As president of Ukraine, he actually owns real estate in London, and he would likely go to London. And J-Rock makes a good point here too. I thought the CIA already did his coup. So this is the double coup. They didn't like the first coup. It didn't work out the way they thought, so they're going to try a different coup.
Well, it's not hardly the first time in CIA history that there was buyer's remorse on the part of the agency, right?
The coup and the counter coup.
It's like that. You don't have to think about it that hard. If it doesn't go well, you just do it again. No big deal. No problem.
That is it.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Yeah, it's true. For people who are wondering what we're talking about, of course, we're talking about the 2014 coup. Some people would say it's not, but it fits it really does fit all of the requirements for a coup. So do you think that Russia and Ukraine are able to make any progress? I mean, the fighting, it seems to be, there's really just not a lot of movement. What movement has been taking place has been to the benefit of Russia, but basically the facts on the ground haven't really altered a hell of a lot.
No. And this is the prime fighting season, right? The weather's good. The spring rains are over, so your tanks don't get bogged down in mud. This is where the two sides are supposed to be fighting like the most, so they can dig in time for winter. And it's just not happening. Both sides are tired. Both sides are running short on supplies, especially fuel. And I don't know. Who wants this more, the Ukrainians or the Russians? I don't know.
Well, that's a good question, right? I mean, I think you and I probably would have agreed that Russia didn't really want this war. I mean, I haven't seen many belligerents wait 8 years to attack.
Right.
That shows a certain degree of patience, unless you're just a big procrastinator. It's like, I had other things to do. I finally got around to it. But now I feel like if I were Putin, I would feel like I was in a good place to negotiate.
Oh, definitely.
And so
Yes.
why not say, okay, let's talk, let's do this. I mean, Russia hasn't changed their demands at all. And I think they're all achievable, perhaps except for some random stuff like denazification, which is kind of, first of all, impossible for the Ukrainians to do, and also impossible to define, and kind of impossible to, that's got to be a throwaway, right? Demilitarization also has to be a throwaway, because that's ridiculous.
That's right.
So, but in terms of the territorial concessions, should not be that hard for Ukraine. I mean, I've always said to my friends who are pro-Ukrainian, like, in a way, this war fixed a problem that should never have existed in the first place.
Yes.
I mean, these borders were poorly drawn after 1991.
Yes.
And if you're Ukraine, do you want a hostile, restive population of ethnic Russians in Crimea that you basically have to suppress?
Right. Exactly. These people in Crimea and in the Donbass are ethnic Russians. They speak Russian at home. Their faith is tied to the Russian Orthodox Church, not the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They aren't Catholics in those areas. The Catholics are in the West. So what would Ukraine really be losing? They wouldn't really be losing anything. And then if part of the deal is this fast track to membership in the European Union, what's the downside? I don't see the downside. Just sign the deal.
Yeah, let it go. Yeah.
But somebody made a comment. Yeah, Houdini's right. Zelensky is an ethnic Russian. Somebody made a comment about the corruption. Oh my gosh, there are so many ways to do it. You can have a foreign company serve as a cutout. You can have, the money diverted directly into your Swiss bank account. When I served overseas, we saw it 9 ways from Sunday. It's not at all hard.
Well, Switzerland's not as good as it used to be.
No, the Swiss will rat you out now. Now it's more like the Isle of Man, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein. Yeah, the Guernsey, the Cook Islands. Yeah.
And I mean, and then old-fashioned cash, right? I mean, we know that like skids of $100 bills left Afghanistan by plane.
Yes.
And if you just show up, and let's not, lest people forget, if you travel on a diplomatic passport, they don't search you.
Yep.
So you can bring vast amounts of whatever, drugs, guns,
money. That is right.
Anything you want in your diplomatic pouch.
That's it.
It's strange.
I got arrested once with the diplomatic pouch. I was like, man, this is supposed to be my get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
I was going to Yemen to see some friends of mine. This was in the spring of 91. I was kind of tired from the war and I wanted to, go to that vacation spot that is Yemen just to try to decompress for a little while. So friends of mine invited me to go down.
Next time you go, I want one of those big pointy hats that the women wear.
Yeah, those are awesome.
I collect weird hats. So
those are awesome. I actually bought little ones for my boys. They were young at the time. So I was traveling from Riyadh through Jeddah to Sana'a, and one of the State Department communications officers asked me if I would take a diplomatic pouch with me, and it had some radios in it and some mail, just mail, right? So I said, sure, I'll take the pouch. So I took the pouch, and when I arrived in Yemen, they insisted on X-raying it, and I said, no, this is a diplomatic pouch. I'm a diplomat. I have my diplomatic credentials. I had the paperwork with the wax seal on it and all this stuff. And they were like, fuck that. And one of them pulled out his jambia, that curved dagger that they carry.
Oh, wow.
And he hacked the lead seal off the pouch. And I kept saying, I protest. You can't do this. I'm 26 years old. What am I going to say? So I didn't speak Arabic yet. I had taken like 6 weeks of just Arabic familiarization. So they open up the pouch. he reaches in, he pulls out this radio, and it was like an old-fashioned CB radio. And he says, "Jasus," one of the few Arabic words that I understood at the time. It means spy.
Oh, wow.
And man, they were on me. So they put me in this cell in the airport, and I was with like a Filipino nurse and a couple of Indian guys that had hashish on them. And I was in there for about 4 hours, and finally the American ambassador came and said, "Wow, you really threw a wrench into my day." And I said, "I'm sorry. They should have never opened that pouch." He said, "Nah, forget it. Let's just go." So we got in the car, and that was my first experience in a jail cell.
Yeah, it's always funny when people just don't follow the rules, and that happens a lot. What do you? I actually don't know what this question is about. Do you know what this question is? John, did you see the
situation?
I don't know. All right.
No, I read the Greek papers this morning, and they were talking a lot about this new wave of refugees. Is that what you're talking about, Nick?
I don't know. All right.
Yeah, let us know.
Okay. I just figured since you're Greek, you know all things Greek.
I try to keep up on things.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me a question today about why do Greeks hate the royal family so much? And I was like, oh, I'd love to answer that question.
Well, I can't. Apparently, Nick is
Israeli tourists blocked by locals. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to take a very quick
from disembarking.
Oh.
Yeah, sassy, spicy. I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out right now. That would be kind of a nice move. Oh, top story. Greece crowned champion of women's water polo after victory over Hungary. Okay, let's see what else.
A grateful world.
Oh,
sigh of relief.
Greek police have dismissed reports in the Israeli media alleging that a mob carried out a knife attack against a group of Israeli tourists on the island of Rhodes. That's my ancestral island. Yeah, interesting. You know what? I'm going to text my cousin and I'm going to ask him what's going on there with Israelis.
All right. Stuff. Well, and then question from Adam Fighter: when are we going to cover China? Well, it's true we have to cover China. There's a really interesting piece. I think I read in the Washington Post today about deflation. Now China's been in a deflationary environment for 8 consecutive quarters, over 2 years. Because of excessive competition. So the authorities are stepping in, and basically they're going to start to regulate this so that there's fewer companies in the same sector. They're going to sort of, I guess the right-wingers would say, they're picking winners in the free markets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Doesn't seem like a bad idea to me. I mean, if you have excessive competition and prices are getting so low that in the aggregate, sectors are wildly profitable, but no individual company can stay afloat, you've got a problem. So
yes, you do.
All right. Well, we'll thanks for the suggestion, Adam. We'll
thank you for that.
Soon. I can't promise it'll be Friday, but it might be Friday. But we'll do it soon. Pretty crazy.
Real quickly, I want to get to the bottom of some of these. Yes, Prince Philip was Greek. Prince Philip was the son of a very minor Greek princess, and the royal family in Greece, the Greek royal family, they're not ethnically Greek. They're half British and half Danish. Huh. So we never. That's why we hated them so much. They were imposed on us by Queen Victoria. So Philip was born in the island of Corfu, Kerkyra in Greek, and his mother suffered from severe mental illness. She ended up resigning from her royal duties, and she became a Greek Orthodox nun and moved to a convent where she spent the rest of her life. Prince Philip left Greece as a child and never returned to Greece ever. It was because he hated Greece and didn't like the Greeks, and they hated him, and so there was no love lost between them.
Yeah, he was an asshole.
He was an asshole. Now Charles is different. Charles goes to Greece every year or 2 years, and he always goes to Mount Athos, which is what's called the Holy Mountain. He's not Greek Orthodox, of course, being the head of the Church of England, but he's as close to Greek Orthodox as a British royal is going to be. So they like Charles. They hated their own royal family. And we threw them out on a rail in 1967, told them never come back.
And so, wait, when did military rule?
67 to 74. You know, the first Greek king was King Otto the First. Otto, right? He was Bavarian. He was German. The guy was king for 32 years and never learned to speak Greek.
Well, that's how those royals are, right? they were like, you know how like CEOs, there's a CEO. I wanted to write this book that would have been titled The CEO Class, but I'm not a business writer and it really should. So I'll give this to someone who's watching, who's a business writer. But basically there's a category of dudes who and it's all dudes, whose job is they don't, you know, they parachute in to run a cereal company, even if they don't even eat cereal. And then they're off to run like a software company. And then after that, maybe they're running, you know, they're managing a ball team. They're just like sort of all over the place. And these royals are the same way, right? That's like, you know, poor Marie Antoinette. She never could have said, let them eat cake, nor would she have, because she was actually a kind-hearted person. But also, she never could have said it in court and been quoted because she didn't speak French.
I did not know that. No one would
have understood her. She was Austrian. She only spoke German.
I did not know that.
So,
see, it was the same thing with the Greeks. You know, we had a king of Greece who he was taking a tour of some neighborhood in Thessaloniki, and he was bitten in the leg by a monkey. And he pretended that it didn't hurt and it was no big deal. It got infected and sepsis set in and he died 3 weeks later. Yeah. So his brother became king and his brother didn't want to be king. And his brother didn't know what the hell he was doing. And he's like, oh, you know what? We should invade Turkey and overthrow Ataturk. And then he led this army into Turkey, which it's now called the catastrophe of 1921. Seriously.
I don't remember this episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he got thrown out.
Dumb adventures around that time, like when the Marines invaded post-revolutionary Russia.
Yeah. Right.
Also disastrous, stupid, forgotten, not studied.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know what Houdini's talking about, what Pine Gap is. I have no idea.
I'm sorry.
Well, look it up. Tell us what it is. We don't know what you're talking about. Sorry.
I don't know what that is.
That's pretty funny. A van just pulled up. Pine Gap. All right.
Oh, it's the television series Pine Gap? Oh, Pine Gap is a highly secretive, jointly operated Australian-U.S. intelligence facility located near Alice Springs. It's a ground control station for signals intelligence satellites and a key relay station for satellite communications. The base plays a crucial role in global surveillance, particularly for missile launches and battlefield intelligence. You know, it's funny. We never called it Pine Gap. We always called it Alice Springs. But that was from Grok, and that's even more than I knew about Pine Gap.
Personal question for you here. How do you rate the Turkish intelligence?
Good in some ways and not good in others. Good in that they are on the Kurds like white on rice. And I don't mean just their own Kurds. I mean Syria and Iran and Iraq and all the Kurds. They're not so good on Greece. Greek intelligence is better against the Turks than Turkish intelligence is against the Greeks. Greek intelligence officers are much more likely to speak Turkish and to pass for Turks than Turkish intelligence officers are speaking Greek. Did I work with them? Yes, I worked with them. Yes, I worked with them years ago.
You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say anything.
No, not going back to prison.
No.
Yeah.
No, because then we'll need two pardons for you.
Yeah.
We're still working on the first
pardon
one.
Enough getting the one pardon.
Yeah, totally.
Cedos. Right. I'm going to check that out. The cruise ship incident on Cedos. I was in Cedos last summer. It's an amazing place.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, there it is. Protest against Gaza war prevents Israeli visitors from touring Greek island. And that's from the Associated Press from this morning. I missed that. Yeah, Greek island residents stop Israeli cruise ship from docking. Travel advisory for Greece by Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs as ship is blocked in Siros. Okay.
Well, if you're
Good
not
for
a
you guys.
Zionist, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, there you go. Good.
All right. So let's, I think we should also, we would be remiss, since we're good about talking about Iran, there's this really weird situation going on in Iran now where there's arson fires all over the place.
Yeah.
And, obviously, my first thought goes to a country that starts with I and ends with L and sounds like Israel.
You took the words out of my mouth, Ted.
But
this is a problem in Greece every summer. The Turks come and light fires, and we have these catastrophic forest fires, wildfires.
Really?
Yeah. It's a problem.
Like it's on purpose.
Oh, yeah. They'll send operatives into the islands and just light the forests on fire in the middle of the night. And you know that the Israelis are watching the same media weather reports that everybody else is watching, that it's, 120 degrees Fahrenheit and in Iran, and it's a tinderbox because it's so hot and it's so dry. Of course, the Israelis are out there setting wildfires. Absolutely.
So do you think obviously there's no Israeli tourists, right? But in Iran, but they have lots of operatives. You've already established that. We know that the Iranians are infested with turncoats. Iranians who are obviously collecting, money from the Israelis.
That's right.
And they're paid to do this.
And a lot of Afghan refugees, it turns out, that have taken Israeli money.
Well, they're poor as shit.
Iran.
Very, very grateful for being taken in.
Yes.
Iran does deserve some gratitude for the fact that they've taken in a lot of
more refugees than any other country on the planet.
Yeah, they've always been very open that way. They it's cool. They allude to it in that movie, Three Kings, great movie.
I remember that movie. That was a good movie.
To Iran. And, it's done without comment, but it's a very sly, politically and accurate, thing. Yes, for sure. I've crossed that border from Afghanistan to Iran, and you can tell you get a sense of what a border feels like. Afghans like Iran. They're like, of course, obviously there's a huge cultural ties go back thousands of years.
Yes.
So we have these arson fires. It's psychological warfare, right? Are the Iranians going to be able to get I don't understand why the Mukhabarat, why don't they get down to the bottom of it and find out what the fuck is going on and stop all this shit?
Yeah.
Are they incompetent?
Yeah, they are. And they're underfunded, and they're focused on domestic political rivals, and they're not focused on counterintelligence. How you can have thousands of people essentially acting as sleeper agents in your country in a time of war is a mystery to me. But there was an Israeli announcement yesterday, perhaps you saw it, saying that they were able to identify 1,000 Israeli citizens passing information to Iran, and that most of them were Iranian Jews living in Israel.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do actually.
In that case, it might be ideological and not about money.
It's not. Again, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think it is ideological in that respect.
They're so upset about what's going on in Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The behavior, and of course, obviously, I bet they that community catches a lot of discriminatory bullshit.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis from the security forces. So,
can say that again.
Amazing. All right. So are we sufficiently deprogrammed?
I think so. Hey, do you want to tell our friends here that we're very slightly changing our name? Very slightly.
Yeah. Right now, so we had I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I imagine you have. When you go to search for us on YouTube, there's another thing called the DeProgram that comes up. and it's in the UK. It's a different show entirely, and sometimes it's hard to find us. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
So I did what we all do in this day and age when we're trying to solve impenetrable problems. I asked AI what to do, and AI said that we should do what we're doing, which is we have officially changed the name to DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. Now, I graciously suggested that John's name go first, also alphabetical order, but then John pointed out that, like, because of the spelling issue with
nobody can spell my name.
No one can spell your name, so that's why my name is first.
Thank you, Houdini.
Yeah, I would have been happy to have you go first. Really,
my pleasure.
Truly. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally yes. Thank you, Houdini. Indeed, $5, much appreciated. Please, 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 please like, follow, and share the show. It really makes a difference to us.
It does.
We are trying to make some money here, and if we get the search terms right, I think it's going to make a difference. But we count on you guys the most. We're here again Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. We're going to probably step it up to 5 days very soon, maybe in a week or two. But right now, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we'll see you Friday at 5 Eastern in the afternoon. And thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate you, and take care.
Bye-bye.